Welcome back to Mega Man 02. Last time, we discovered what Elpizo's true goal is. We knew he did want to unleash the Dark Elf and use its power, but we now know that in order to do that, he needs to destroy X's body. Which, you know, we don't want that to happen. Zero is pretty pro-X, so like... yeah, we gotta go stop him now. I guess there's also the fact that it could very well be an apocalypse, especially for humans if Elpizo succeeds. But like, X though, we gotta save him. We've gotta save Zero's boyfriend. So here we are in Yggdrasil. We can't expect any help from the Guardians because we kinda beat them up. Harpuya especially is probably down and out because he got forcibly transformed by the baby elves. And yeah, I think he needs a break, so it's us on our own. So I gotta say, the fact that this is a plot point definitely helps justify making X in the previous game copy X instead of the original. Like, I already thought that worked out pretty well, but now we have a plot point that directly hinges on X still being selfless at the time he, I guess, turned into a cyber elf. Because, of course, he had to use his own body, the only thing powerful enough to stop however strong that thing is, and then move on from there. Which I don't think a selfish X, in the same personality as Copy X would have done such a thing. Or, actually no, maybe he would've. He does have a savior complex, so like, he probably would have done it, but he'd be really smug about it, you know? Anyway, here we are at the boss rush. So, I mentioned earlier that Harpuya is, you know, one of the only bosses in this game to have dialogue if he kills you. He isn't the only one, however. All of the bosses here in Yggdrasil, other than I think the final boss, have dialogue. I didn't record any of it because it didn't seem particularly interesting. It's more or less the same as their opening and dying dialogue, which is to say, they're just, oh man, Elpizo's so great, love Elpizo so much. Love that guy, love the new world. Can't wait for that new world. You suck, Zero, for not wanting this cool new world. Love that new world. So yeah, I didn't record any of those because I didn't really think they were particularly interesting, but just so you know, they will diss you should they kill you. Although, I don't even really think it registers as an insult to them anymore. The power the Dark Elf has does seem to have a pretty strong hold on Reploids, including all of the guys we've already killed. Where's Elpizo? When Elpizo isn't on screen, everybody should be asking this. So yeah, that is the whole setup to this one, which, we also don't have the Guardian refights, which is why I was a-okay using elements against them in their original fights. You only fight the standard Guardians once, you only fight the arm phenomena once, so... I felt like I didn't need to do a elementless version of those fights, and frankly I also didn't want to, though it doesn't matter for you because you are elementless, so I just gotta do regular damage against you for the whole thing. Which sucks because this boss does kind of feel like a bit of a damage race. This part isn't so bad, but afterwards... yeah, after Slinky phase, I feel like, random platforms over a pit are definitely pretty nasty. You might want to fight this guy first before anything else, cause, there is an instant death pit here. And I don't think there's one anywhere else? Maybe in one of them. That's hard to remember because that's not really the focus of that fight. Anyway, while we work our way through Yggdrasil, I do have a few more quotes from the complete works. Now this is mostly just about the making of the sequel. So,
The question was, please tell us a little about how the idea of a sequel came about. To which Izzy replies, towards the end of production, we felt that the characters involved in this game were quite memorable in their own right, and that it would be a shame to let their story end so soon. To that end, we adjusted things a bit to leave it open for a sequel, but that's also why most of the game is not indicative of a planned sequel. The real question of whether or not we were going to do a sequel came after we were pretty much done. Since we had left the first game with such an open ending, I think that we managed to pull off the sequel without it feeling too forced. A sentiment which I do agree with. And then, the next one's about 03, so we're not getting into that one just yet. And I think I saved the best refight for last, so... Well, I say best. Most interesting. Oh yeah, here's Burble. Going elementless immediately. So let's see, the other one I wanted to mention was... Oh yeah, are there any characters that are particularly special to you? I especially like Elpizo because he is so human. For instance, I love that scene where he goes to shake Zero's hand and is ignored. He had a real personality. There's more to that one, but we'll do that at a later date, I think. Because I mostly brought this up because it does involve Elpizo. Elpizo will actually be a talking point for more of the series, so don't want to just burn all of that just yet. Nonetheless, though, that is definitely a good scene at the beginning. Because I feel like it immediately just establishes Zero and Elpizo's rivalry. Zero immediately recognizes that there's a little something wrong with Elpizo. Which, yeah, he runs pretty contrary to how Ciel wants to do things, which means he runs contrary to how Zero wants to do things. Also, Ice, so actually we might be doing the interesting one. Oh wait, no, that's right, you are... Oh, these must both be weak to Ice then, because I'm pretty sure the other boss is too. So yeah, this is a weird setup. We've got neutral, ice, and ice for weaknesses. But yeah, no, I think just... Between that and the way that Elpizo just talks to Zero, just that whole, oh, these missions probably aren't so tough for a legendary Reploid like you, he's trying to play nice, but, as I've mentioned plenty of times before, he has problems before he has capital P problems. And that really just comes across in his attitude. And the way he does seem to have a little bit of contempt for Zero. For, being the hero he kinda can't be. Anyway, right, so remember Blue Guy? And how he mentioned something about a brother or whatever? Guess what? This guy's back. Hercules is back. So yeah, we've actually got a unique boss refight. Including a guy from the previous game. So they're going to mostly take turns. That attack is pretty easy to dodge still. That one, also pretty easy to dodge. Really though, the biggest problem is when they work together. Because they'll do this, and then this attack. So yeah, you have to strike at the middle to remove the beam for a few seconds, and yeah, let me tell you, it took me a few tries to remember that that's what you were supposed to do. There is no other way to dodge that. And that's one of those attacks where it is technically pretty easy to avoid, but the number of times you have to do it does make it difficult. Any single jump isn't so bad. No, it is actually kind of annoying, but prolonged dodging does get pretty difficult. I also think you might be able to hit them at the sides, but I didn't because they can just change direction whenever, so I did not feel safe doing that. It seemed like a bad idea. And when they die, they do try to ram into you, so... not as impressive of a suicide attack as Phantom, but still, something you have to look out for in this fight. But otherwise, they do share a health bar, which is cool, because... Oh, that EX attack they have would be pretty difficult otherwise. Their combined attack. The brothers' attack. Oh god, they have a bros attack. They're just like Mario and Luigi, except one of them's blue, so it's incredibly wrong. Alright, so we have one of those technically pretty easy, but it involves a lot of spikes. Sections of the final level. It's not particularly hard, but again, spikes, so if you mess up, you do die. Which is less than ideal, but honestly, I don't think it's even the most difficult platforming in the game, just very intimidating. The overall level isn't too long though, so yeah, we've gotten through the game's bosses. It was a weird number of 3 then 3. But here we are. This is where X's original body is sealed, and it looks like Elpizo was waiting for us. Smug prick. He probably could have killed X beforehand, but he didn't. Just so he could do it in front of us. Hey Elpizo, has anybody told you that you're just the worst? Also, as a little note, I know it's not, but his sprite looks like he has, like, blonde hair that covers one eye. So he kinda looks like that kind of anime rival. But no, it is a helmet, it just looks like anime hair. I mentioned this because, well, I don't have much time now, because things have gone very bad. So, X was already a cyber elf, but, if there was any hope for using this body for anything else, it's gone. Yeah, laugh it up now, but let me tell you, a lot of fans are mad you just did that. Congratulations, Elpizo, you killed a comatose guy. He wasn't even moving. You're so impressive.
Okay, this is pretty great, but it is very painful. Oh god. Whoa, my sprite's not supposed to do that.
Sorry, I had to transform. Don't I look cool now, Zero? Anyway, I'm going to do a genocide. That sounds pretty great, right? A world only for Reploids. I wonder if that sounds vaguely familiar to Zero. Either way, this guy ain't Iris, so he's going down. I mean, Iris went down, so no question he would too. So this is a really fun fight, but it's also deceptive. There's a lot of room in this room, but you want to stay close to him at all times. Visual indication is the best indication for all of his moves. And also, that attack right there, you want to be close to him so you can avoid it, because it arcs upwards very quickly once it's done. This attack, his EX attack, is actually incredibly easy to avoid if he's on one end of the room. I just avoided everything he was doing by just leaving. Otherwise, though, stay close or he's a lot harder. I learned that lesson the hard way when I was younger. But yeah, once you know to just stay close to him, it's actually a really fun fight. But of course, that's not enough power for him.
Wait, Dark Elf, I need a second form!
Here's the best voice clip in the series. Alright, so, in a game filled to the brim with bosses that I find kind of annoying, this guy's a joke. Even with his EX attack, this one is nothing. So yeah, worst part about him is that he does flash a lot. So, you know, visually that sucks to look at, but none of his attacks are really difficult to avoid. Just strike these down. His worst one is his EX attack, which I think got me the first attempt I had. Second attempt, yeah, just got it flawless, no problem. I did not need to practice this guy. Like, even the first form took me a few tries knowing what I had to do. But, like, he lingers in your range, so you don't need to be on this top necessarily. It's just, you know, standing on top of the top does allow you to not have to worry about being hit by it, so, like, just stand out and hit him more. Again, this took me 2 tries. This was the easiest thing to master. So yeah, that's Elpizo form 2. Dark Elf. Was not super threatening. So anyway, we got Proto form. I won't be using that, thanks. I'm good.
Okay, yeah, no, I get everything now. Yeah, that was a lot of bad ideas. Oh boy.
Yeah, you pretty much embody that, Elpizo. It took several sword strikes to the face, but he finally understands. No, that's your mom. Oh. Baby elves freaked out, so apparently they don't like this form. So, Elpizo does get one last moment of mercy. He did fail catastrophically, but in the end the Dark Elf did decide to save him. And now she's back to normal. Well, apparently the evil entity does know you by name, Zero. Is that good? Is that bad? I don't know. All I do know is that the Dark Elf now has wings. It's no longer faded, and it has wings. So anyway, good news, yeah, X is still allowed to exist as a cyber elf. So that's good. X wasn't really using his body anyway. Since someone called Dr. Vile placed a curse on her. Or if you're like 10 years old and don't know German, Dr. Wheel. Yes, I did call him Dr. Wheel as a child many times. Dark Elf. I really hope Wizards of the Coast doesn't get on our case for using that name. And that is Mega Man 02. So, like I said before, a lot of bosses in this game were kind of annoying to me, and I didn't exactly get along with some of the level design. Most of it had to do with the chain rod. So I think overall, I'd say this is my least favorite Mega Man Zero game. I do love the experimental nature of Zero One and kind of the tone of that game. I think it works out really well. And maybe it's because I've played it like 1,000 times at this point, but I also don't find it as aggravating to play as this game was. So, given what we have coming up, I would definitely say Zero Two was not my favorite, but nonetheless, it's still a Zero game, and I will say, it is overall pretty good. I think my problem is, you know, the problem with doing LPs sometimes, for the sake of, you know, doing decent runs, is I do have to get down to the nitty-gritty of the game, and I did just find a lot of the boss attacks just kind of annoying, not well telegraphed. I didn't really enjoy learning them that much. A lot of times it just felt like luck when I did finally get them. Except the final boss. The final boss is so easy, but everything else is just kind of annoying. But I think if you're playing this game casually, and you don't care as much about mastery, it's a fine enough game. Certainly the intro to this game is easily the best in the series, and I think this game itself also has a pretty good tone. I think it's a pretty good way to move from 0-1 to 0-3. I think it stands pretty strong on its own from a story standpoint, and just because I found it kind of annoying to LP, doesn't mean I hate it and want it to just vanish forever. I would not want to go immediately from 0-1 to 0-3. This game does establish a bunch of things, and as I've said a couple times now, I actually do really like Elpizo as a character and as an antagonist. I think he works really well. So I think this game definitely has some points in its favor. It's just, again, of all of them, this one kind of just annoys me. Which is unfortunate, but, you know, there's always going to be a least favorite, and sometimes it's because you really don't like it at all, and sometimes it's just because you like it less than the other things. Again, I think the chain rod is genuinely my least favorite part of this, and out and out my least favorite weapon in the series. There's one that I'm also not the biggest fan of later on, but I don't think it's as damaging to a few levels in the game as the chain rod is to this one. Again, it's not like the grappling sections are that long. It's just, they don't feel good. So the fact that there are just a couple in the game that just stand out as, you have to do this now, and it very clearly feels just worse than everything else is, yeah, it just sticks out in my mind and I can't really ignore it. But yeah, everything else, game still looks lovely, the sprite work's still amazing, soundtrack's still excellent, so it's still a fun experience. Anyway though, yeah, they weren't approaching 0-1 with a sequel in mind necessarily. It was open to it, but not, you know, a guarantee. This time, however, before we move on to 0-3, we get a little preview of a guy you're going to get to know very well. Here's a guy you are not going to like. Anyway though, that's it for 0-2. See you next time for 3.
Can you see the light?